Welcome to Office Hours, our abbreviated version. It's September 30th. We're here to talk about SEO. We had to take a question offline because we didn't want everybody in the public to see the question. But now that we're back here, we wanted to tackle another question about frequently asked question pages. So Allie, why don't you explain your question to us?
Sure. So we recently, based off of our searches on Answer the Public, revamped our frequently asked questions to address more common searches in Google. So we took what used to be a few detailed questions answered in depth and turned it into more broad questions answered quickly to get more people, more traffic to the site, looking around and seeing what we do. So then the question to follow up that is, should we be kind of promoting that and sharing that on social media, or letting the SEO organically do what it's supposed to do?
Yeah. I think it's a great question. And the answer is kind of why not both, right? Social media will help get those answers out to people by showing that you have an answer. So you're promoting your content. And then SEO can be there for people who are asking the question and don't know of you yet to follow you. But the neat thing to do is there's a couple of new features that Google is really promoting recently, which is the featured FAQ schema. So we've talked about schema before, where it's a way of encoding pieces of a website that helps Google understand what that means. Like one of the examples is an address. We see a number, a word, an abbreviation, a city, a state, and a zip code. We know what that's an address, but all Google sees is a bunch of numbers and a bunch of words, and it doesn't know that it's an address. So if we encode it in a way, Google says, oh, this is an address, right? Humans are good at that. Computers are really terrible at that. So if we encode it in a way using schema, Google knows what we mean. It's not just numbers and words. Well, we can use the same, a different kind of schema to say, hey, Google, we have a bunch of questions and a bunch of answers here. And it's called the FAQ schema. And what Google can do with that is show the frequently asked questions in the search results. So people can then, it will really highlight your search results in the Google search engine. It even can be done to such an effect where literally people can be on the Google search results and see the questions, click, and then see the answer right there in Google. So you take over more Google real estate, and it really makes your page stand out amongst others that have maybe answered the same question. So that, especially if you're getting the questions from Answer the Public, there presumably could be other people trying to answer that. This might help you compete against them, because if they don't do this. Now, there's a way to do it that's super easy because you're using WordPress and because you're using the Yoast SEO plugin. There is something called the FAQ. What is it called now? It's a Gutenberg block for FAQ schema. So Gutenberg is a way WordPress is now changing the user interface. It's a way of breaking down a page into blocks. One block might be a paragraph, one block might be a list, one block might be an image, one block might be a headline. You could also add a block that's called the FAQ block, where you ask a question and answer it, ask a question, answer it, ask a question, answer it. But the Yoast SEO plugin will allow you to add that FAQ block, and it will automatically include the schema for you. So all you do is use that block, you write the question, write the answer, it's encoded in the schema for you, and it automatically inserts it. And if Google thinks your website's credible enough, it will then use that FAQ schema in the search results. So that's kind of one of those additional things that you could do with this. Now, this is where we say danger, because Google we love Google because we do SEO, but we got to realize that Google doesn't make money from SEO. They make money from paid search. They really want to keep people on Google. So the downside of this is that we might be helping Google keep people on Google because, again, they can see the question and the answer on Google. You might not get a visitor from that. So you have to weigh the choices. Is it worth showing that you are an expert in your field and maybe getting the click if someone wants to learn more?
Right.
Or are you giving away the farm by giving the answer and they don't even have to come to your website?
Right.
That's the consideration. So it's always great to have a frequently asked questions page.
Mm-hmm.
As if the answers are really short, one paragraph answers, absolutely.
Yeah.
If those answers are article worthy, you can write a whole article on it. I wouldn't waste those questions in a FAQ.
Yeah, and that's why because that was the previous format was more in depth. And when I was kind of looking at other businesses and other comparable sites, it's not what theirs were like. And I think it is also not necessarily what people are looking for in like a frequently asked question. They want a quick takeaway. So that's why we reformatted to answer more questions in a little bit more of a like public friendly way as opposed to like in the business kind of way. And now we really just want to capitalize on that.
Yeah, and I think you can do best of both worlds. You can have a short answer in the FAQ and then learn more about this topic and go to a blog post.
Exactly. We link to other blogs within our site. We link to our contact us page. We link to our services page, a lot of different things within the different questions and answers.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's cool about that is you're able to reuse the content in several ways. You can get the SEO value of people looking for the question and finding your website to have the answer. Yeah. You could get the SEO value by adding FAQ schema to the page and maybe showing up better in the search results. Mm-hmm. You can then share those articles on social media, not the articles, but the questions on social media and bait people to come to your site to get the answer. You could almost do the opposite and say, here's an answer to a question. To learn more, go to our FAQ and you can get more questions answered. Right. So there are all kinds of ways to recycle that content. But yeah, I like the idea of reusing one piece of content in several ways. Yeah. You know, your social sharing isn't going to affect your SEO, but it's going to help get more relevant customers back to you who are already following you on social media. So I like this idea.
I also just remembered I have a success story to tell you about.
You were successful?
Yes.
I'm not surprised.
So using our analytics dashboard, we were looking at referring websites. So like where our traffic was coming from. And a website that we had never seen popped up before. So we went to it and checked it out. And it turned out that this business out in Washington State organically referred to our podcast as a great podcast to listen to. So we are taking that win and then also reaching out to them to get some feedback from them. And then also, you know, make that business connection. Like, thank you for referring us. You know, and kind of capitalizing on that as much as possible. But that was really exciting because it was really the first time someone completely unrelated to us referenced something that we're doing as a great thing to keep track of and to look out for. So
that's huge win. That's a huge win. You know,
it's huge. Yeah.
We talk about link building and trying to create the links, but the link that Google will never be mad at you for doing is the one someone else builds for you.
Yeah, it was like dorkily exciting.
Yeah, that's SEO dork juice right there.
Yeah, like, we were really excited
that's
about
hard to. Yeah, you get those things that. Oh wow, like that means a couple things. That means you're doing something right.
Yeah.
Right. If people are organically just saying this is great, like, hello.
Yeah.
Pat yourself on the back, right? Yeah. But Google is going to use that link to help say, oh, these people know what they're talking about. This other website links to them. That's credible. And, you know, your competitors, they can't get that link, right? They can't do that. They don't have good stuff you got. right? So, I mean, that's super. That is a big win.
Yeah, very
So
big one.
congratulations with that.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you. It's been a good week for some SEO here.
Well, Lavanya, I want to toot your horn a little bit. You had a big victory this week.
Yes, I did. I had my first paid client and was successful with it. They loved the site.
That's super. That is great. Congratulations to you. I'm very excited for you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
My success story for the week, I think I told you last week, I went to this seminar called Story Brand,
Mhm.
where it kind of works through how to phrase what you offer in a way where your customers would like to actually use it,
Mhm.
rather than just talk about what you have to offer them. You talk about it in terms of what they're looking for. Pardon me. Well, I kind of started literally going through that process with each of my clients, trying to convince them that they need to do this. And I was just already all ready to argue, ready to go, come on, let's do it. And they're like, this is great, let's just do it. I found myself like arguing, even though they're like, this is wonderful, let's proceed. And I'm still arguing because I kind of was surprised that they liked it so much. So it's like,
No, I planned this whole thing out.
yeah, let me rant and argue a little bit
Yeah.
more because I was all ready to argue. No, they just thought it was great. And so we're proceeding with a couple, I should say, most of them are already proceeding with this because they're like, yeah, we think this speaks to our customers better. And we think it will improve our ability to convert customers from visitors to customers. And
Awesome.
I've been doing it for my sites. I redid the homepage for Curious Ants in light of this paradigm, redoing my main site in light of this and my clients. So that was like a big victory of, wow, I didn't even have to argue very hard. That's pretty great. Okay, well, thank you for our abbreviated office hours.
Thank
Great
you.
question. Great question. I wish we could share with everybody else, but that's okay. That's some
Yeah.
things have to stay in office hours. That's okay.
Yep. Mhm.
But all right. Well, I have to get going, but thank you both.
All right, thanks.
You
Thank
guys have a good week.
See you next week.
You
See you
too.
soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.